What if everything you're trying to manifest right now, the money, the relationship, the lifestyle, isn't actually what you want? Because when you look closely, it's never really those things, it's the feeling you believe they will give you. It's not just money, it's the feeling of freedom, security, peace of mind. A relationship isn't the goal, it's feeling loved, safe, and chosen. Now, I don't want you to go too deep into this just yet, just notice it because once this actually clicks, you stop chasing manifestation for good. By the way, if you're meeting for the first time, my name is Prakhar and what I'm sharing isn't just theory, it's what I learned from building companies and negotiating multi-million-dollar deals under real-world pressure. Now here's something worth asking yourself. Why did some things in your life just show up on their own? No affirmations, no scripting, no obsessive visualizing, just more like a passing thought that, yeah, that would be nice. And then you moved on and you largely forgot about it. And somehow it happened anyways. But now it feels different. Now you know more, you've actually studied manifestation, you know the vocabulary like alignment, vibration, detachment, scripting. You're doing everything correctly this time around, and yet ironically things feel slower now. Or maybe they're not even happening at all. That contradiction isn't random, that's actually the exact place where real understanding starts. Now if you think about what changed, for most people, they picked up a rule somewhere and on the surface that rule sounds completely reasonable. It's that I'll feel secure once I have the money. I'll feel loved once I'm in the relationship. I'll feel at peace once things finally work out. And it makes sense on paper, but the second you accept that logic, that the feeling only arrives after the thing does, you've quietly handed over your power. Because now you're stuck waiting. And every day it starts with the same questions. Is it here yet? Or what am I doing wrong? Or how much longer is this going to take? Now let's take an example of a guy and let's call him John. Let's say he's been trying to grow his business and every single morning, the first thing he does is he checks his revenue dashboard. If it is up, he feels fine. If it is down, his entire day loses energy. So even on the days when nothing is actually wrong with the business, his mood is still being controlled by a number on a screen. And the part that almost nobody notices, that every time you're actively trying to get something, your mind is quietly registering that you don't currently have it. Not on a conscious level, but the deeper layer of your mind, it picks up on it instantly. And that becomes the exact signal it keeps broadcasting outward. Not that this is already mine, but this is missing. And where most people get stuck without even realizing it is that your current reality, everything you can physically see, touch, measure right now is really just old information. It's the results of a state you were in earlier. And most people, they look at the current reality and they let it decide how they feel, and then they wonder why nothing ever actually shifts. But if your feelings are constantly being dictated by what's already sitting in front of you, you're just recreating the same loop on repeat. And that's the actual trap. Because the second something is missing from your current reality, you start reacting to that absence. You feel the lack, you feel the delay, and you feel the doubt. And that feeling itself, it becomes the next instruction going out. So the very system which was meant to move you forward, it ends up reinforcing exactly what's already there instead. The way out of this is not pretending your current reality doesn't exist. It's simply understanding that what you're looking at right now was set into motion a while ago. And whatever you're internally building right now is what shows up later. So that gap that you're sitting in, that delay that you keep feeling, that's not failure. That's just the natural lag between an internal shift happening and the outside world catching up to it. Now here is where it gets really interesting. Some of what you're chasing right now might not actually even belong to you. So that number you want in your bank account, is that truly your version of freedom? Or is it just what success is supposed to look like from the outside? Because I personally know people who are chasing $1 million a year in profit and others who are chasing $10 million a year in profit, not because their actual day-to-day life would meaningfully change at that number, but because it's the number that sounds impressive when someone asks what they do. Or someone else who's pushing hard to be in a relationship, not because they're genuinely drawn to that person, but because being single at that age, it quietly feels like falling behind. And I've been guilty of this myself, because there was a period in my life where some of the things I was chasing the hardest, they were not even mine to begin with. They were kind of borrowed from other people's expectations and from some idea that I had absorbed about what I was supposed to be doing with my life. And that creates a very specific kind of internal tension. Part of you is pushing forward for it, another part of you isn't actually even aligned with it. And you simply cannot relax around something you're not genuinely connected to. Real detachment was never a technique you apply on top of your desire. It's simply what naturally happens once the desire itself is clean, once it's actually genuinely yours. Think about this for a second. There are things in your life that came easily that you never had to force. And there are things right now that feel almost impossible to move forward. It's the same you, same world. So what's actually different? It's not effort, it's not strategy, it's not how badly you want it, it's the pressure you're holding it with. One thing you held loosely, the other you're gripping tightly. Let's take another example, and this time we call the guy David. And David, let's say he meets somebody that he genuinely clicks with instantly. He didn't strategize how to get her to like him. He wasn't obsessively checking his phone for replies. He just showed up, talked, enjoyed the moment. But in a different situation, David meets somebody he really wants to impress. Everything suddenly became calculated. Every message was reread. Every delay was overanalyzed. It's the same guy, completely different pressure. That's the entire difference right there. When you're gripping something, checking it constantly, managing it, wondering why it isn't here yet, that grip itself is what's generating the resistance. And the looseness on the other side, that's not laziness and it's not indifference. That's actually where the real power lives. Now let's also explore what works. Set it and then genuinely drop it. Not as a clever technique, not as a trick to fool the universe into cooperating. Actually let it go. Decide once, calmly and certainly, not desperately, and then let your mind move on to something else entirely. This is exactly what was happening back when things showed up for you easily. You weren't micromanaging the path there. You weren't obsessing over how it would happen. You just had a quiet sense of knowing, and then you got on with living your life. And your mind, which is working with far more moving pieces than you could ever consciously track, it quickly started arranging things into place without you even noticing. The moment you start checking on something obsessively, you drag it right back into uncertainty. The moment you actually release it, it starts moving again. And a very simple, everyday way to see this mechanism in action is, think about the last time you were trying to remember something. Maybe it was a word or a name or the answer to something you'd been stuck on. You tried hard, you pushed at your thinking, you went in circles, and the answer just wouldn't come. So eventually you gave up, you went with your day, you made a coffee, you had a shower, started thinking about something else entirely, and then completely out of nowhere, the answer just appeared. That's not a coincidence. That's the actual mechanism at work. The second you stopped gripping it, your mind got to work properly because it wasn't busy managing your anxiety about not having the answer anymore. It was simply free to solve. And that's exactly what happens with the bigger things in life. A mind that's trying to control every single step, it usually sees one or two possible paths. A mind that has been clearly set and then released tends to find a lot more than that. Think about something that recently came to you that you weren't even actively chasing, and at the same time, think about something that you're still sitting around waiting on. The real difference isn't effort, it isn't discipline, it's pressure. One you held with an open hand, the other you're gripping tightly. Now that you understand this, the obvious next question becomes, how do you actually build a process around that instead of just chasing the thing? That's exactly what I walked through in the Joe Dispenza video, breaking down his complete manifestation framework. I've added the link in the description down below and on your screen, and I'll see you there.